Bruce Smith was the most complete defensive end I've ever seen. Period. Bill Belichick. I've coached a lot of great players, but Bruce Smith was different. He changed how we had to game plan. Joe Gibbs. The greatest defensive player I've ever seen. And it's not even close. Jim Kelly. 200 sacks. That's the NFL record, and it belongs to one man, Bruce Smith. But numbers only tell part of the story. In an era of legendary defenders like Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, and Derek Thomas, Bruce Smith somehow stands alone at the top of the mountain. But was he really that good? Or is this just another case of stats making a good player seem like a legend? Today, we're diving deep into the career of Bruce Smith, a defensive end who terrorized quarterbacks for 19 seasons and left a legacy that's somehow still underappreciated. We're going to look at the numbers, the film, and the impact to answer one question. How good was Bruce Smith, actually? Bruce Smith was born in Norfolk, Virginia in 1963. From the beginning, he was different. A physical specimen who dominated youth sports despite battling childhood asthma. At Norfolk's Booker T. Washington High School, Smith became a local legend, dominating in both football and track and field. Virginia Tech won the recruiting battle for Smith, and he immediately showed why he was special. By his junior year, he was the most dominant defensive player in college football, winning the Outland Trophy as the nation's best interior lineman. What made Smith unique even then wasn't just his size and strength, it was his rare combination of power and speed. At 6 feet 4 inches and 280 pounds, he moved like someone 50 pounds lighter. His first step was explosive, his hands were violent, and his motor never stopped. The Buffalo Bills selected Smith with the #1 overall pick in the 1985 NFL Draft. This was a franchise desperate for a turnaround after years of mediocrity. They were betting their future on Smith becoming a cornerstone. It would prove to be one of the smartest draft picks in NFL history. Smith's NFL career didn't start with a bang. As a rookie, he recorded 6.5 sacks, respectable, but nothing that screamed future legend. It was his sophomore season when Smith announced himself as a force in the NFL. In 1986, Smith exploded for 15 sacks, establishing himself as one of the premier pass rushers in the game. But what truly separated Smith from other great pass rushers was his complete game. He wasn't just hunting quarterbacks, he was equally dominant against the run. Bruce had the quickest first step I've ever seen, said former Bills defensive coordinator Walt Corey. He could be in the backfield before the tackle even got out of his stance. But what made him special was that he could do it all: rush the passer, stop the run, chase plays down from behind. He had no weaknesses. By his third season, Smith was already considered among the elite defenders in football. But the Bills were still building around him, going 7-8 in 1987 despite Smith's dominance. Everything would change in the coming years as the Bills assembled one of the greatest teams never to win a Super Bowl. From 1988 to 1994, Bruce Smith put together a 7-year stretch that rivals any defensive player in NFL history. During this period, he recorded 92 sacks, won Defensive Player of the Year twice, 1990 and 1996, and made 7 straight Pro Bowls. What made Smith's dominance even more impressive was that he did it while facing constant double and triple teams. Teams built their entire game plans around stopping number 78, and they still couldn't do it. Former Patriots tackle Bruce Armstrong, who faced Smith twice a year for over a decade, put it simply: Bruce Smith was the only player I ever faced who I knew was going to beat me a few times each game no matter what I did. The goal wasn't to shut him down, that was impossible. The goal was just to limit the damage. During this period, the Bills became an AFC powerhouse, reaching 4 consecutive Super Bowls from 1990 to 1993. Smith was the cornerstone of a defense that complemented the team's explosive K-gun offense led by Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and Andre Reed. The Bills' 4 consecutive Super Bowl appearances from 1990 to 1993 remain one of the most remarkable achievements in NFL history. And while they famously lost all 4 games, Smith's performance on the biggest stage showed his greatness. In Super Bowl 25 against the Giants, Smith recorded a sack and 4 tackles despite being double-teamed on nearly every play. The Bills lost 20-19 in the infamous wide right game, But Smith's dominance was clear. "We built our entire game plan around neutralizing Bruce Smith," Giants coach Bill Parcells later admitted. "We knew if we didn't account for him on every single play, he would wreck the game." The Super Bowl losses have unfairly tarnished the legacy of those Bills teams. But football insiders know that reaching 4 straight Super Bowls is a feat we may never see again. And Smith was the defensive anchor that made it possible. Former Bills coach Marv Levy said it best. "Bruce Smith was our defensive equivalent of Jim Kelly. He was the player the other team feared most, the one they had to account for on every single snap." What made Bruce Smith so unstoppable? Let's break down the film. First, there was the first step, perhaps the quickest in NFL history for a defensive lineman. Smith could explode off the line and be past an offensive tackle before the poor guy even got out of his stance. Then, there were his hands. Smith had violent, precise hand technique that allowed him to shed blockers with remarkable efficiency. He could swipe, swim, or bull rush with equal effectiveness. But perhaps most impressive was Smith's bend, his ability to turn the corner while staying low to the ground. For a man his size, Smith's flexibility was unnatural. He could flatten his path to the quarterback in ways that defied physics. Former Bills teammate Darryl Talley explained, "Bruce had this unique ability to bend his body at a 45-degree angle while running full speed. Offensive tackles couldn't handle it because they couldn't get low enough to match him without falling over." Smith wasn't just physically gifted. He was technically brilliant. He studied offensive linemen obsessively, learning their tendencies and tells. By the time the ball was snapped, he often knew exactly what move would work based on the tackle's stance or the formation. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Bruce Smith's career was his longevity. In a brutal position where careers are often cut short, Smith played 19 seasons at an elite level. After 15 dominant years with the Bills, Smith signed with Washington in 2000. Many thought he was just collecting a paycheck at age 37. Instead, he recorded 10 sacks and proved he still had plenty left in the tank. Smith played 4 seasons in Washington, recording 29 sacks after the age of 37. His final career sack, number 200, came against the Giants in his final season at age 40. It was the perfect capstone to an unmatched career. "What Bruce did in his late 30s was almost more impressive than his prime," said former Washington defensive coordinator Marvin Lewis. "Most guys at that age are just trying to survive out there. Bruce was still dominating." Smith's 200 career sacks remain the NFL record, and it's a mark that may never be broken. For context, the active leader in sacks, as of 2025, is Von Miller, with 123.5, still nearly 80 behind Smith. So where does Bruce Smith rank among the all-time greats? Let's look at the numbers. 200 career sacks, NFL record. 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. 11 Pro Bowls. 8 first-team All-Pro selections. 4 Super Bowl appearances. Member of the NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team. If we compare Smith's career to other legendary defensive ends, Bruce Smith, 200 sacks, 1,225 tackles, 43 forced fumbles. Reggie White, 198 sacks, 1,112 tackles, 33 forced fumbles. Deacon Jones, unofficial, 173.5 sacks. Sacks weren't an official stat during his career. Michael Strawn, 141.5 sacks, 854 tackles, 24 forced fumbles. Smith's numbers hold up remarkably well, even against the greatest to ever play the position. But perhaps the most telling statistic is this. Bruce Smith recorded at least 1 sack against 78 different quarterbacks, another NFL record that speaks to his dominance across eras. Unlike many great players who have to wait years for Hall of Fame recognition, Smith's greatness was immediately acknowledged. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2009, his first year of eligibility, receiving 97% of the vote. At his induction ceremony, Smith delivered a powerful speech that reflected on his journey from asthmatic child to the NFL's all-time sack leader. "I was blessed with tremendous God-given talent, but what I did with it was up to me," Smith said. "I worked hard every day to become the best I could be. I never took a playoff, never took a day for granted." Smith's Hall of Fame bust in Canton stands as a testament to his greatness. But for many who played with and against him, even that honor doesn't fully capture just how dominant he was. Beyond the numbers and accolades, There was something about Bruce Smith that set him apart, his approach to the game. Smith was known for his relentless work ethic and preparation. Former teammates describe him as obsessively dedicated to his craft. He would spend hours studying film, perfecting techniques, and maintaining his body. This wasn't a player who relied on natural talent. This was someone who worked tirelessly to maximize every ounce of ability he had. Marv Levy, who coached Smith for most of his Buffalo career, once said, "Bruce was the first one in and the last one out every day. His talent was enormous, but his work ethic matched it. That's what made him special." Smith was also known for his mental toughness. He played through injuries that would have sidelined lesser players. In 1991, he battled through a knee injury that required weekly drainage, yet still recorded 14 sacks and won Defensive Player of the Year. When evaluating a player's greatness, it's always valuable to listen to those who played with and against them. And the testimony about Bruce Smith is remarkably consistent. Bill Belichick. "Bruce Smith is the best defensive end I've ever seen, coached against or coached with." Warren Moon. "Bruce gave me nightmares. You always knew where he was on every play, and it still didn't matter." Anthony Munoz, Hall of Fame tackle. "Bruce was the most complete defensive end I ever faced. He had it all: speed, power, technique, and intelligence." Even Reggie White, often considered Smith's only peer at defensive end, acknowledged Smith's greatness, saying, "Bruce could do things I couldn't do. His quickness and bend were on another level." So, how good was Bruce Smith actually? The numbers tell us he was dominant, the all-time sack leader who produced at an elite level for nearly 2 decades. The film shows us a technically perfect defensive end who could beat you with speed, power, or finesse. His peers tell us he was unstoppable, a force that even the best offensive linemen couldn't contain. And his legacy, cemented in Canton and in the memories of anyone who watched him play, remains powerful enough that we're still talking about him decades later. Bruce Smith wasn't just good. He wasn't just great. For 19 seasons, Bruce Smith was transcendent, a defensive force whose impact on the game can never be diminished. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Bruce Smith's career, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments which other NFL legends you'd like to see featured next.